I'm here to tell you the 3 steps I would take to get recruited to a D1 so that you don't have to be an idiot and waste your time or money or anything like that, like I did. Alright, so today I want to talk about exactly what I would do if I was a young baseball player and I wanted to get recruited by a D1. So for those of you who don't know my story, I was a 16-year-old. I was throwing 78 to 80 miles an hour, and I really wanted to get recruited by a D1, and my dream school was Stanford. I really loved ASU as well. Previously we had gone to the US for like a showcase thing, and we toured ASU, and I was like, damn, that's so sick. But growing up, I always loved Stanford, and those two were my dream schools pretty much. So I was 16, I was throwing 78 to 80 miles an hour. So I had a lot of work to do, getting recruited to a D1 throwing in the low 80s. So I knew I had a lot of work to do. I just didn't know what to do, honestly. I was living in Australia, Sydney, Australia, and baseball isn't the biggest sport over there. So training was a little bit difficult. I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know what kind of throwing programs I should do. I didn't know what kind of lifting to do, all of that. But I kind of made a decision that I was like, all right, I want to do this. I do want to gain this velo so I can get recruited and go to these powerhouse places. I don't want to just end my baseball career here. As a 16-year-old, I couldn't get recruited. I couldn't get out of Australia and just go and get a normal job, I wanted to extend my baseball career and go somewhere with it. And so when I made that decision, I was like, all right, what exactly do I need to do to get recruited? And honestly, what really happened was from 16 to 18 was slow, painful growth. I made so many mistakes and wasted so much time on just doing random shit. And it was so anyway, I'm here to tell you the 3 steps I would take to get recruited to a D1 so that you don't have to be an idiot and waste your time or money or anything like that, like I did. So this is the simplified process of how to do this, and it isn't easy. It's very simple, but it's not easy at all. Anyway, let's dive into a couple of my mistakes, exactly what I would do instead, and how you can do that too. So let's get into it. So firstly, if you want to get recruited to a D1, you need to be throwing hard. You need to be throwing in the low 90s and touching. If you want to be sure that you're going to go to a D1 to a powerhouse university, you could be throwing touching in the mid 90s. And so that's pretty hard, So the first thing, the very first step is to do velocity-based training. And so I had to go from throwing 78 to 80 to 90, 94, touching 95, something in that range. That's a big, big jump. So what did I do? I took a lot of time off to focus on velocity training. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see is that everyone's just playing all the time these days. Playing doesn't really get you that much better. It might get you better at playing baseball, but it's not going to get you to throw harder. That's kind of what I realized. It was I was pitching twice a week. On the weekends, I'd throw 80 to 100 pitches, because in Australia, if you're going good, then they're gonna ride you, And midweek, I'd relieve, and so I'm just playing all the time. And so I didn't really see any progress, to be honest with you. Playing doesn't get you throwing harder. It's going to get you better at baseball, but if you're throwing 78 to 80 miles an hour, it doesn't matter anyway. So the first thing was, and this is one of the good things that I did, and that I recommend a lot of players who were in my shoes, who weren't really that great, who didn't really throw that hard, to do, is to take a significant amount of time off from playing. And then you can allocate that time to velocity development. So that's actually what I did. I did, honestly, close to like a year off from playing baseball. And so the first, I think, 6 months I was in Sydney, Australia, I was just doing research. All right, what's the best velocity training program? Like, I was looking at top velocity training. I was looking at driveline baseball. I was looking at trade athletics. I was looking at every single velocity throwing program out there in the world. And I was combining them. I was trying them all, seeing what worked, seeing what didn't. And I don't want to get too off topic here, but looking back, all those programs would have worked if I had just stuck to it. Because as long as it's like a decent program, all you need is consistency. And so one of the mistakes that I made was, if I didn't see progress within like 2 to 3 weeks, I'm like, all right, this program interesting in it. Like, I'm gonna go jump ship and try something else. But in hindsight, I would have stuck to it. I would have just picked one program that I really liked, and I would have just stuck to it, because, you know, sometimes pitching velocity is a tough thing. Like, you're not gonna see results for like at least a month most of the time. Like, usually you want to dedicate at least 3 months till you see any kind of significant progress. And so, yeah, that was one of my mistakes. But getting right back onto topic, taking time off for velocity development. So what you want to do is dedicate that to velocity training. So my number one recommendation is to get a coach who knows what they're talking about. It can be from one of the big training programs like driveline baseball, trade athletics, like all these, there are a ton, there are a million. Even I do that. I help guys increase pitching velocity. So pick any one of these guys, because if they have the experience and they have the results to show for it, they have the like testimonials and stuff like that, then the program's probably going to work. And so you just need to stick to it for at least 3 months, and you'll probably see results. And I will definitely do that, just so that you don't do what I did, which was do all this research. You have no clue what you're doing. You're trying everything out, and all that time you're not making progress because you're not working on the right things. So I'll definitely get a coach who does all the programming for you, all the lifting stuff, mobility stuff. He looks at your mechanics, tells you what you need to do, so you're always traveling in the right direction. Like, there's no perfect program out there. There's like I said, most programs work as long as you stick to it and you're consistent with it and you show up every day and you give it your all. So that is step number 1. Get a coach who knows what they're talking about. Take some time off to dedicate to velocity-based training, and just do what the coach says. I know that's kind of like 3 steps, but that's step 1. Now you might be thinking like, dude, like, I know I need to gain velo, but velo isn't everything. Yes, that's very true, but it is pretty damn close to 80 to 90% of what will get you recruited. So I know this was a couple years back, but I threw a bullpen, and it's funny because if you look at it, I don't throw a single strike. Like, there's a target right in the middle, and I don't hit it once. But I was 90 to 93, and that got me a ton of attention. And even when I was showcasing, I threw a bullpen in front of like 100 plus scouts. It was in the Arizona academic game. If you can get into that, get into that, because I mean, if the coaches know you're good at academics, then you're an easy recruit. So, but anyway, I throw this bullpen, and I was kind of spraying it a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I was out there. I'm like super nervous. All these scouts. All I was telling myself is, Josh, just rip it. Just throw the shit out of it. And so that's what I did. And I was kind of spraying it a little bit. But when I'm done, I got told I'm 92 to 94 in that bullpen. In a bullpen. And after that, the amount of text, phone calls from college coaches was unbelievable. And I was actually overwhelmed because I didn't actually know I was capable of that. But velocity isn't everything, but it is a major, major part. And so you do need to focus on that. Now, if you're pretty young, if you're like, 10, 11, 12, 13, then yeah, just go out and play. Like, don't not play and dedicate that to velocity training, because during those years, you want to lay a pretty good foundation and just go have fun and play baseball. Honestly, like, you don't really know your goals yet. Like, you're so young that you just really want to have fun and play multiple sports, play multiple positions. And that would be my main focus if you're super young watching this. I would do bodyweight exercises every single day. I'd be a little bit cautious as to when you would start lifting weights. There's the argument of, does lifting stunt growth? I mean, maybe. I started lifting when I was 13, but I think I went a little bit overboard. I started like back squatting and stuff when I was young, and so that's why I'm having a lot of back issues now. Do I regret it? No, because it's kind of what got me to where I am, but I wouldn't recommend it. And so if you're super young, just go have fun. Go play baseball. Don't like take time off for velocity training until you're like, 15, 16, 17, when you've decided that you wanted to take this seriously and get recruited or get drafted or something like that. So step number 2 is self-improvement. So you're starting to work on your velocity now. You're doing the throwing program, you're doing the lifting program, mobility program, all done by your coach who knows what they're doing. Now, what would I do next? I would start my self-improvement journey. So what is self-improvement? Let me give you an example. So when I was playing when I was 15, 16, and I would go to practice and I'd come back, I'd have all this free time. I'd already done my homework and stuff like that. And so I had like 3 hours of time until I went to bed. And so what I did was I'd grind Call of Duty, or I would watch anime, or I'd go watch movies on Netflix, stuff of that nature. But instead, what I would do if I had started over, I would start my self-development journey. And what I mean by this is you want to improve every aspect of your life. So, we all have fears and anxieties and insecurities and stuff like that. And self-improvement is basically attacking these things. It's attacking your fears, your anxieties, and your insecurities so that you feel more confident in yourself as a person. So I'll give you an example. This is actually a funny one. I was really scared of talking to girls when I was young. I'm not going to lie. I was pretty awkward. So much anxiety. When I'd go talk to a girl, I'd kind of just shut down. And I was like, damn, I don't like this about myself. So I'm going to try to improve it. So what did I do? I went to all these malls and high population areas, and I would just go ask girls out. I'd be like, hey, excuse me, can I grab your number? Not those words. I had a little bit more riz than that, but I would just do that. And yeah, it was terrifying, but it was overcoming that fear. That was I was improving myself by overcoming that fear and going and doing it. And the purpose of this is pretty much to prove to yourself that you're a badass, that you go out and you can overcome your fears, you can be disciplined, and like improve parts of yourself. And why is this so valuable as a baseball player? Basically, it gives you a lot of confidence in yourself. And when you have confidence in yourself, when you're really comfortable in your own skin, then that shows on the field. And now you can go out and play with confidence, you can play with swagger, and honestly, the recruiters will notice that. And so the second step would be start your self-improvement journey. And I'll give you some practical tips. Instead of grinding Call of Duty, read a self-improvement book. There are so many out there. One of my favorites is Mindset by Carol Dweck, David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me, Almanac of Naval Ravikant. There are so many good books out there. And honestly, it doesn't even have to be self-improvement. Just any kind of book that's interesting to you, because reading is really good for the mind. It's improving your ability to understand things, and it's just really good for the brain. So you're improving that area of yourself. That's part of self-improvement. Instead of being scared and insecure about instead of being scared or insecure about something, go out and attack it. So I gave you that example with the girls. If you're insecure or awkward or something with girls, go and cold approach 100 girls, Or if you're really scared of doing something, then go and do it and try to attack that. That's pretty much the process of self-improvement. And if you look it up, then there's a lot of great stuff about self-improvement. And I would highly, highly recommend that, because honestly, that is the biggest mental unlock for a lot of people and players. Even if you throw 95, if you're not confident, you're not going to be able to play as well as you can. And that's kind of what happened to me. I was throwing 95 at that point, but I got the yips because I had so much anxiety. I had never done any self-improvement. All these insecurities and anxieties got to me, and I wasn't able to play at my potential. So if I started over, then the second step would be start your self-improvement journey. Start doing stuff productive off the field, and that will give you a really big competitive advantage, because chances are no one else is doing it. So once you're working on your velocity, then start your self-improvement journey. All right, step 3, and this is the most fun part, is to distribute yourself and showcase yourself. So once you're working on your velocity and you're doing your self-improvement, and you've done that for 6 to 12 months, and you're throwing at least 90 miles an hour, and you're starting to get confident in yourself, you've been doing your self-improvement journey stuff, get some video of yourself and start to cold email all the college coaches that you want to get recruited by. You might not get any responses back, but it's worth a try. Cold emails, there's no harm in it. There's only upside. You spend 5 to 10 minutes writing an email, and they might not reply back, but if they did, then very, very well worth it. Some other options are post that video on Twitter, start to build a social media brand, start to tag Flatground app on Twitter, and they'll repost it and they'll get some distribution for you. Try to get your video out to everywhere. Start to ask a lot of coaches, hey, if these guys are looking for a pitcher or a player, let me know. Stuff like that, Just try to get your video out as much as possible. And honestly, this might not get you an offer, but it might get a coach to come look at you. And so that's what happened with me, was that I had videos of me throwing low to mid 90s, and so I was distributing that a lot. And yeah, it didn't get me any offers or anything, but it did get me a lot of interest, to where I was like, all right, I'm going to be in Arizona at this showcase, come watch me play. And they actually did come and watch me play. And so step 3 is to distribute yourself. Get video yourself, distribute it as much as possible. Use social media. Social media is massive these days. Try to get as many people to retweet it or share it, and if you're good enough, then you're gonna get a ton of interest. Just don't do this if you're not that great. Like if you're throwing the low 80s, then you need to go back and train and get good first before you start distributing, because it's gonna have the reverse effect. If you're low 80s and you're trying to distribute it and you're messaging everyone, then it's gonna come across as just annoying. Like if I was a college coach and if I'm at a D1, Powerhouse D1, and I get a video of someone throwing 82, like I'd be like, Jesus Christ, like this is just straight up annoying. But if it's this guy's 92, 94, it's like, okay, like, yeah, this guy's interesting, I might want to go look at him. So make sure you're good first and you're confident in yourself enough to go perform at a high level. And so now you're distributing your product, you're gaining some interest around you. Now you want to go and showcase. So you want to find showcases that you know scouts will be at for the best results. So for me, it was the Arizona Fall Classic and the Arizona Fall Academic game. Arizona Fall Classic, maybe that's the minor league one, but anyway, it's something like that. And I went on a travel ball team, and I knew that there were going to be a ton of college scouts there, so I'd be covered. And I also asked all the coaches who I had cold emailed and who had shown interest to come and watch me play, because the showcases are where the offers happen. They need to see you in person to give you an offer. And so that's what I did. I went out and showcased, and I pitched the best that I ever have, honestly. I was, 92, 94, touching 95, just striking out the house. And because of that, I got a ton of offers. And I even got offered by Stanford and ASU. Stanford is a little bit of another story because it was a longer process, but I got offered by ASU. I got offered by all these schools that I never thought I'd be able to get recruited by. And it goes back to I threw hard, and I'd started my self-improvement journey to be confident in myself enough to go and compete. The third step is just the distribution and showcase. If those two things, honestly, the first thing, velo just has to happen. Like, you have to be throwing 90 plus if you want to go to a powerhouse university or a D1 or something. Self-improvement journey, this is one of my biggest regrets that I didn't start earlier, but I guess it isn't a necessity, but I would highly, highly recommend it. And this is something that I would do if I started over. I was 16 years old, and I could tell myself what exactly to do. This would be top 2 things that I would tell them. Start your self-improvement journey. Number 3, distribute and showcase. I mean, if you're good, then this should be really fun. Like, you're gonna get a ton of offers. You're probably gonna be dominating. And so make sure you get those two right, because without those 2, the third one doesn't work. And honestly, without the first one of throwing at least 90 miles an hour, if you start distributing and showcasing, you're going to get no interest, and it's honestly going to come across as straight up annoying. I'm sorry to say it, but it is what it is. And so, yeah, those are the 3 steps that I will take. Velo training, self-improvement, distribute, and showcase. If you do want help with any of this, message me on Twitter. I do coach some guys. I'm pretty selective of who I take, but it's worth a try. Just message me and we'll see what we can do. I really, really hope this helped you, and I wish you the best in your baseball career.